Hello and welcome to Driven by Doing podcast. Today we have Summer Owens. She's an author, speaker, and founder of So What Foundation. When I heard about Summer's story, I got so inspirational that I must talk to Summer. So thank you so much, Summer, for having coming on to our show today.
Thank you, Venki. I'm honored to be here to talk to you. I'm excited.
Yeah, and especially being an alumna at University of Memphis, I see a lot of achievements in your career so far, and you're helping a lot of youth and youngsters in their careers and helping them motivated. So, and now you're also the National Alumni Association president at University of Memphis. Like, how do you manage all these different things all together?
It's been interesting, I guess. The reason why I'm able to is because I have been managing a lot of things, a lot of priorities since I was 15. I know you read a little bit about my story, but I was a teen mom.
Hmm.
I got pregnant at the age of 15. Um, but I was a student leader in high school, and I came to Memphis, to the University of Memphis, and I was a student leader here along with my son. And I was an honor student, so I had honors classes,
Wow.
and I worked I had an internship, a full-time internship. So I've learned through, well, now it's been 20 years. I've learned how to balance multiple priorities, and then that's one of the things that I talk about. I also have a class at the University of Memphis that I don't have it this semester, but in that class I talk about time management and how to make all those things happen. Because one thing I know for sure is you can do anything that you want to do. It's about setting your priorities and managing your time well.
That is awesome. I'm super impressed because you're teaching time management to students. I think everybody should learn so much about time management from you because you do a lot of great things every day and you inspire a lot of things and great work altogether. And now you mentioned that you came to Memphis to go to school here. So where are you originally from, Summer?
I'm originally from Jackson, Tennessee, so just down the road, just about an hour away, but far enough away to not have the help that I really wanted and needed as a teen mom. And so it's part of the reason why I love the University of Memphis so much is because when I came here in 1997, the University of Memphis really embraced me and really supported me. So, like I said before, I was a student leader, so I got involved in different organizations, and I have to give a shout out to Tammy Hedges, who was the vice president for the University of Memphis. But in '97, I met her, and she was the director of SAC, the Student Activities Council, and I joined the SAC board and got involved with SAC, and she loved me and she supported me, and she even was a babysitter for me. So she saw that I was a student that was working really hard, and she supported me by helping me with my son. So I had to build a support system here in Memphis because my family isn't here. A lot of my family is back in Jackson or in other cities. And the University of Memphis just opened their arms and were that support system for me.
Wow, that's great to see. Like a lot of students, especially how University of Memphis has actually helped me as an international student to become who I am today, and I'm super impressed with how the whole culture of Memphis and like the whole vibrance that we have here in the community is it's just awesome. And
Yeah.
especially being a student at the University of Memphis for the last at least now 5 years, two-time graduate from University of Memphis myself. Now I could see like how you were able to get that support when you needed the most, especially being a student leader as well. Now coming back to your journey at University of Memphis, being that student leader, right? Like how does that help you to really shape up your career from the get-go at the university?
Absolutely. So, well, I'll first say this. I was always a student who liked to be involved. So even when I was in high school, I did yearbook staff and beta club and DECA and student council. I did all those things when I was in high school. So I always liked to be involved. But I got the Emerging Leader Scholarship to the University of Memphis. And with that scholarship, there's a requirement to get involved and to progress through the different organizations as a leader. And so I was really excited for that extra push to join several organizations in your freshman year. Is a requirement to join several. And each year the number can go down, but the leadership role should go up. And so I was really, and I probably would have done it anyway, but I was really glad to have that push, because what that did for me was it exposed me to two things. One, to a lot of different people, and people and relationships are critical to your career and just knowing people. But then it also exposed me to um, different opportunities and different projects where I was able to learn and to do different things. And like you and I talked about earlier, your background, my background, we're in marketing. And so in the different organizations that I was able to get involved in, I took on marketing roles or some sort of PR role. So I was getting that experience. So I was building a portfolio of things that I was doing that I wasn't even doing in my classes. But back to the people part, probably even more importantly, I was building these relationships, these friendships, and these relationships with people where they knew who I was as a person. They knew my abilities, professional abilities, and when I graduated from from college, those relationships tied to that portfolio that I was able to build on top of my grades, because I did focus on my grades and I did really well in school. But a lot of times it's the relationships that will get you in the door to even share your experience, to show your personality, and to show what you can do. And so my first job out of college was with the Memphis Grizzlies. And there were some relationships that I built at the University of Memphis that helped me to get that interview. The same thing happened when I went, after I left the Memphis Grizzlies, I worked for Service Master, and then I worked for FedEx. At each one of those places, there was someone that I met along my journey at the University of Memphis. And typically it was in one of those student organizations. So it wasn't even in class. Most of those were in student organizations. They're like, oh, that's Summer. She's a hard worker. She's this, she's that. These were people who were able to tell hiring managers about me before I even got in the door. So those, being a student leader, being involved on campus, being known on campus, I would say were probably was equally important to me having good grades and graduating. I graduated magna cum laude. Like I said, I worked really hard, but just knowing people and having people know me was probably equally important in my career.
Wow. So the whole student leader experience, and thanks for sharing that, the whole journey, how it has helped you, Summer. And now let's talk a little bit more about the networking aspect of it, because like I, as an international student here at the University of Memphis, I went through the same journey. I went through every meeting or everything that's going on campus, like took advantage of things. And initially I was so uncomfortable as an international student, and sometimes I felt that like going through that phase and coming out of my comfort zone has really helped me to really even network with professionals, network with students from other countries. And I think as part of my story has been that key element that really helped me to boost my confidence as well. And thanks for sharing your journey as a student leader. Like, now coming back to the whole thing as a speaker, now how do you help all these hundreds of youth that you actually speak to every single day and every opportunity that you get? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so it feels, it's amazing. It's amazing. And let me say this. This is the career that I'm in now. I never, ever would have imagined. I would have, 10 years ago, I would have said, no way, even just 10 years ago. And I've been doing this for 7 years. So um, I love marketing. I love being a behind the scenes person. I love coming up with creative. I love working with agencies. But I never thought I would be the person in front. It was when I was at FedEx that I had the time, because when I worked for the Memphis Grizzlies, I worked 60 to 80 hours a week, because I was working a regular 40 hours, plus we had games, we had events, and I was just super busy. Plus, I had my son, and that was when I got my MBA while I was working for the Memphis Grizzlies. And then I went to work for Service Master after I earned my MBA. And at Service Master, I traveled a lot, and I had my son, and so I was just super super busy all the time. But when I went to work at FedEx, I finally had a little bit more of that work-life balance that people talk about.
Yeah.
A little bit more, and that was when I did what people had been asking me to do since I was a student at the University of Memphis. People would always ask me, how did I do it? And by it, they meant, how was I a mom and still involved on campus and making good grades and working an internship? And my answer was always, I don't have time to think about it. All I have time to do is do it.
Do it.
That's all I just got to do it. And I said one day, people say, you should write about it. You should tell people. And so, like, maybe one day I'll write a book. And so when I was at FedEx, I decided to write this book. I was going through a divorce, so I was going through another tough thing. And I had moved out, and it was just me and my son, and I needed something to help me to release these feelings that I was having. And because I was at FedEx, I was working normal hours for the first time. I wasn't working every night. I no longer was in school, had already earned my MBA. And so I had time at night after I helped my son with school and everything, with schoolwork. And so I wrote this book, and it was just my story. And it was because I was finally able to see outside of myself too, because for so long I felt like I was in survival mode and just trying to get to a place where I could take care of myself and take care of my son. And at this point in my life, I was like, it's time for me to help somebody else. And so I wanted to share my story to encourage. Initially, it was just teen moms. My thought was, I want teen moms to see that they don't have to drop out of high school, because statistically they will, most will. So I wanted them to see they didn't have to drop out of high school, and I also wanted to see they could graduate from college or some other post-secondary education opportunity. And so I wrote the book, and it just took off. It turned into something else. So many other people started reading it and telling me it wasn't just for teen moms. It was for anybody who had an excuse not to be successful. And so that's where So What came from. I'm a very spiritual person. I went to bed at night, and I prayed about it. Like, I don't know what this is, because I was starting to speak in schools. People were asking me to speak in schools all the time and at churches, and I'm a very shy person, which people have a hard time believing now, but but I am. So even when I worked at FedEx, I hated when I had to make presentations, because I really, and even in school, I didn't want to make presentations. But when people started asking me to speak about my book and to share my story in schools, it was different. It was different. So initially it was like, well, I want to get the book out, so I need to talk about it. But then after I would speak, I would have lines of people, whether students, teachers, adults, it didn't matter. I have lines of people waiting to talk to me after I spoke. I'm like, what is this? This is something. And I would end up rushing back to work because I would do it on my lunch break when I was working at FedEx. And I would go back to work, and at work all I would think about is, how can I get in front of some more people, because people are hurting and people are lost and people are confused. And I'm like, I didn't know, but I have some answers, and I can help people. And so after about 3 years of, really 2 years into that, I was getting tired. Like, okay, I'm speaking after work, I'm speaking on my lunch break, and I honestly, and you're at FedEx now, I loved working at FedEx.
Absolutely.
I love the culture there. I love what I was doing. I felt like I was cheating FedEx, because I had a job that I knew. I worked in advertising, and I traveled. I traveled, but I traveled when I wanted to. So it wasn't like my previous job where it was really demanding, and I had to figure out something with my son. At FedEx, I got to travel when I wanted to, and it was just the most beautiful situation. I had the salary I had been wanting for a long time. And so I felt like it was really unfair, because when I was at work, I was just thinking about how can I get in front of more people? How can I share my message with more people and help more people? And I was focused on that more than I was focused on my work at FedEx. I was doing my job, and I even got a Bravo Zulu. I got a promotion during that time. So I wasn't neglecting my job, but I wasn't being me. And who I am is a go above and beyond kind of person. And so I said when FedEx offered buyouts, they offered the buyout packages. I said I'm going to put in for it because I met the minimum criteria to put in for it. And I said, you know what? I think I'm supposed to be doing something else. I really felt like I had found my calling. Well, even deeper than I felt like I found my purpose. Like the reason why I exist, the reason why I had gone through all the hard things in my life. I found it. And like, this is what I'm supposed to dedicate my whole life talking to people and encouraging them and telling them it'll be okay and just how it can be okay and to make the right decisions to make it okay. And so I put in for the buyout and later found out I did not get it. That's what a lot of people don't know. A lot of people know I worked at FedEx and I left during the buyout time, but they thought I got the buyout, but I didn't. It was and Lori Tucker, she is the chair of the Board of Visitors, and now I'm on the Board of Visitors for the University of Memphis. It's another part of my story, how things come full circle and relationships come full circle. But Lori Tucker came up to me at a luncheon for the Women's Foundation. And FedEx is always a big sponsor for that. And I was at that luncheon. It was the day after I found out I did not get the buyout. And she said to me, and she may not remember or even realize this, but she said to me, and she had read my book. Let me say that too. She had read my book and she was very complimentary of it, which meant a whole lot to me. But she said, I saw something you posted on Facebook. And my mind is like, oh no, I didn't know you were on Facebook. What did I even post? And she said, did you get the buyout? And I said, no, I didn't get it. She said, are you leaving anyway? And I said, yeah, I am. Then I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I just told her I'm leaving. And she was a senior vice president. And so she was my manager's, director's, vice president's boss. And I told her I was leaving. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not prepared to leave. I told her I was leaving, but I felt like my heart had spoken. And I went back to work after the luncheon, and I looked at my bank account and I said, you know what? I need to go. It's time for me to go. I wasn't financially fully prepared, but like I said, I felt like my heart had spoken. So I told my manager, I told my director, I told my vice president, and then I left.
Wow.
And I left. And I had started, like I said, I had started speaking. I had been speaking for that past year on my lunch break after work, and I was exhausted. I had even started charging. So I had built the business, and like I was saying before too, when I went to sleep and I prayed about the business, when I woke up, so what came to my mind, and teaching people how to say so what to whatever challenges they face. And so now what? How are you gonna move forward from it? Are you gonna be stuck in it, or are you gonna move forward? Because we all face challenges. There's not a single person who exists who does not have challenges. And the key to challenges is learning how to grow from them, how to learn from them, and not succumb to them. And so I had my So What platform, and I started speaking, and developed curriculum for schools because I've been asked to, because I was told that a lot of schools are reading a book, the students wouldn't put the book down. And so after that, I developed curriculum, and now I've been working with the school district here, and I'm looking to work with more school districts on this. I have a literacy, life skills, and character education curriculum that's in the school system. So I speak, but I also have the curriculum, and I also do coaching. And so it's just it's a beautiful journey for me. It's been scary, to be honest, but that's also part of what So What is about, is not letting fear stop you from going after your dream, or like I said, I feel like in my case, my purpose. And that's how I got into speaking.
Wow, that is just simply amazing. The whole transition from your corporate career to becoming an entrepreneur and sharing your journey and story and becoming a speaker. And sometimes when you know your purpose right in front of your eyes and you know it, even though you might not have the bank balance to survive or mentally prepared at that time, but you took a leap of faith. And sometimes we
Absolutely.
all need to do. And being an entrepreneur, that's what, like, even working for myself, like working at FedEx, I think our founder Fred Smith. That's what every time I hear him and I see him, like that gives me goosebumps. Like, hey, like how did this guy like build a global company? So
Amazing.
yeah, so and he believes in people first, and then the freedom that we have to explore our own paths, and even within FedEx, I think that's just amazing culture that the founder and his peers has built for years now, to be able to, like, really give the freedom to employees to explore their inner self and
Yes.
be what they wanted to become.
Yes. If I had not become an entrepreneur and started this journey, I totally would have seen myself staying at FedEx, which is what I expected anyway, for my entire career, because you can have a very diverse career at that company. You can stay in that company and work many different jobs. And so yeah, and even you talked about it earlier, how your corporate experience has informed some of your decisions as an entrepreneur. And the same thing with me. There was so much that I learned in all of my jobs. At FedEx specifically, it was systems and processes that has really helped me as an entrepreneur.
Wow, great insight, Summer. I think systems and process, they are so good at it, and I think especially with the quality-driven management, especially the key principles that we learn, I think is definitely are going to help in our life too. I think that's what I see, I hear from you now. So again, now coming back to your whole speaking career, and for the past 7 8 years, you have been doing it. And how did you feel now after, like, this 7 to 8 years transitioning completely into a full-time career? What do you think is the best part of your life now?
It's so interesting. So, um, you probably heard the saying is like, when you find a job you love, you never work a day in your life. And I would hear that all the time, and I'm like, well, I found a job, or I created a job that I love, and I work all the time, all the time, all the time. But I love every minute of what I'm doing. I love every minute of what I'm doing. It's interesting, because it has been a journey. Like I said, and you said, I took a leap of faith. A University of Memphis now has courses or even a degree in entrepreneurship that was not offered when I was there. I do have a business background. I have a BBA and an MBA, but it's not the same as being an entrepreneur. It's nowhere near the same. So I have an LLC as well as a 501c3 organization. So I run a nonprofit that I started called the So What Foundation, and my for-profit speaking business is So What. So those are even two totally different businesses, business structures, and I've learned a whole lot in these last 7 years. I made a lot of mistakes, some costly mistakes, but it has been a beautiful journey. And I will say one thing that a lot of everybody probably can relate to in some way. Um, but 2020 was shaping up to be my best year ever. I had speaking engagements booked through November, contracts with schools in place for the curriculum, and and it was just going to be a wonderful, stable year. And then of course COVID-19 hit, and that's what everybody can relate to, and it shook up my entire world. And for many people, probably maybe especially entrepreneurs, but everybody has been affected by COVID-19. I would say in some major ways. I think probably everybody's been affected in some major way, even if it's just having to keep your homeschool your kids or loss of a job. It's or not being able to go to school. I know a lot of students have and educators have had a very hard time transitioning to virtual learning and teaching. So it's been interesting, and that's one thing that we all have in common. And I had to employee, so what? I pulled it out. I was like, so what? All my speaking engagements went away pretty much all at once. And with schools closing, that contract went away, and just having to adjust. But that takes me back to the core of who I am, and being creative. And so I
Wow.
think that's a good word for this time. I think everybody is having to be more creative, whether that's, home projects. A lot of people are doing that. A lot of people are cooking. But for me, I've done home projects and I've been cooking too. But for me, it's being really creative in my business, and figuring out new and different ways to deliver what I have. So I've had online courses for a few years, and I've used Zoom for 4 or 5 years. So none of that is new to me, but just figuring out an even more effective way to deliver what was not virtual, to make it a virtual experience, and still be effective. And so that's a big part of what's going on in my speaking business right now. But it's exciting to me. I like challenges, and it definitely is a challenge. And I like finding solutions to problems. And like you said earlier too, our schools have problems. So whether it's preschool or elementary, middle, high school, or college, our schools are having major challenges right now. And I think that it's not just on the schools to come with the solutions. I feel like I can be a part of that solution too.
That is awesome because we are seeing a lot of challenges, and especially now COVID-19 has amplified it. Now it actually opened a lot of our eyes to actually, hey, like, you know what, this is even a bigger problem than we initially thought. And we are seeing these problems every day, and we are trying to now critically think, hey, like, now how can we solve these problems right now? Yes, we saw this in the last few years, but it has come to a critical stage or critical point where we need to solve it immediately or slowly progress towards those great solutions that can help the schools or even the world for the next
Right.
next future. So I think
Right.
that's what great about entrepreneurs. Like we are problem solvers. We see problems as something that can be challenged, right? And
Yes.
so what, like if you see a problem, again, I'm using your own mantra. I think it's just amazing, because it's almost like your maxim, right? It's your personal
It is.
maxim where, irrespective of what kind of problem that you see every day, just having that first frame of mind, so what, like that
Exactly.
instant you're telling that to yourself or to anybody, it's like it's creating a spark, immediately saying that I don't care what the problem is, and I'm going to go after it. I
Yep.
think
And
that's so powerful.
thank you. Thank you. That is whenever anything happens. I've had some horrible things and some scary things and some sad things happen like everybody else. But I do. The first thing is, so what? So what? I don't feel sorry for myself. I don't question myself. I don't beat myself up about it. The next thought is, so now what? Like, okay, well, what are the steps to deal with it?
Wow,
What are the steps to
that's
deal with it? And either I know those steps or I get somebody to help me figure out what those steps are. But the one thing I don't do is sit around and feel sorry for myself or complain about the problem, even. It's okay. I got to accept it. This is what it is. And then I have to figure out how to move forward. So I say accept or act. Accept or act. No complaining.
that's just so powerful, Samar, because the natural tendency, that's I spoke about this in my previous episodes. The natural tendency, whenever we got obstacles in our life or any problems that we face, just maybe on a daily basis, our minds naturally don't want us to struggle, right? It always tries to protect us. And now in doing so, you're telling we are telling ourselves that, hey, like that might be a problem that I might not solve, that I don't have
Hmm.
the capacity to go above and beyond to be able to solve that problem. And having that frame of mind might be challenging, because that might be your problem today or somebody else's problem today. That can be your problem too in the future. But
Right.
now the whole framework, you have developed this whole framework of so what is actually going to help people create those mindset immediately. It's
Yes.
almost like Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Whenever we think of any obstacles, just in 5 seconds, if you have the trigger to take action, I think that's so powerful.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so happy I have it because it's gotten me through some, like I said, some really, really tough times. And I just want it to help other people. And I think in these times right now, uh, especially have to embrace this because I mean, I did a presentation, virtual presentation. Now, it was in April. It was in April, and I predicted suicides would go up as a result of COVID-19 because people are experiencing loss like probably never before.
Hmm.
So from high school seniors losing proms, losing the opportunity to walk across the stage, and people losing jobs, and then people losing lives. Most people don't know how to deal with loss. There's so much loss. It's so at a sudden all of a sudden, and don't know how to move forward from it. That's another reason why I'm pushing this even more right now because it literally can save people's lives. Because so many people, and it's a mental health issue, of course, and there's so many people who don't necessarily have mental health disorders. It's another thing that you were describing, and the term is called learned helplessness, where they immediately think I can't do anything about it. Situation happens and they automatically assume they can't do anything about it, but the reality is in most situations in our lives, even the really, really hard ones, we can do something. We can do something. And so it's I like to have fun with it and saying so what it's extremely serious and transforming how people think about their situations and shifting everything in their lives based on a quick thought.
Wow, that's it looks so simple, but as you just mentioned that it is serious as well. Like if you really think about it, it's like giving that frame of mindset. It's so powerful, as I mentioned before. And thanks for sharing your journey. And it's so powerful, and it is helping a lot of youngsters because, as you mentioned, those suicidal thoughts or having that mental health issues, trying to cope up with a lot of things that are going around them, as well as trying to struggle, like coming out of high school, not having to go across the stage, or coming out of college, not having the job. And these are some real challenges that they are going through, and it's okay. It's okay
It
that,
is.
yeah, because everybody are faced with similar challenges, and we just need to support each other during, especially during these challenging times, telling them that so what, right? So that's the frame of mindset that we all need to help each other. And how can our listeners actually connect with you to learn more about you?
Sure, and I love to be connected. So I'm on most social media platforms. But the easiest way to connect is just go to my website, which is summerowens.com. And on my website, there are links to my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and wherever else I might be. But oh, and my blog, which is where I get to share even more of my thoughts on a regular basis. But yeah, I love being connected, and I really like to keep people motivated and encouraged. As like I said, especially during these really, really challenging times.
Do you have any, like, one thing that the audience that you want to take away from our show today?
Um, I think the main thing that I want people to take away is think about your challenges and what can you learn from those challenges that can make you better, make you stronger. So in the midst of COVID-19, we all probably have a list, a long list of challenges. But what is it that you can identify as something positive that came from that challenge? And what can you learn from that that can help to make you better, make you stronger? And I gave the example with my business where all of my revenue for 2020 was wiped out. nearly immediately. But what it forced me to do was to get really creative about my business. And I've come up with some really, really exciting ideas that are going to move my business forward, nationally and internationally even faster, because I was forced to make these choices and make these come up with these plans. Otherwise, I would have probably continued to pretty much do what I was doing. And so that's a positive that came from challenge. And I think in every single challenge that we have, we need to identify those positives and those things that are going to really shift your relationship, your career, whatever it is that's going on in your life. For every bad thing that happens, this may sound crazy, but if you dig deep enough, for every bad thing that happens in your life, there's something good that's coming from it.
No,
I truly believe that.
that is so true, Summer. Like you mentioned a lot of great things on our podcast, and seeing the positive side of things is so powerful. Yes, there is no life without challenges. We just need to agree to that, and just seeing the positive side of things and learning from our mistakes, or what could we learn from these challenges, is going to propel us in so many, and it opens up a lot of great opportunities that we couldn't even think if we just go in our path, in the similar path that we go, just like the way we are. So I think it's just learning from our mistakes and learning from our failures, and taking that positive spirit and taking it forward is the key. And thank you so much for being on the show today. And I'm super impressed with your background and how you made your obstacles to power you up to face all these challenges with ease. And so what is a great framework that so many youngsters just love to use, or just can help them propel in their careers and life. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Thank you.